everyone, and welcome back to Beyond the Veil Background Information. We're doing a creature profile this time, and we're in the realm of the elementals, and we're talking about certain creatures that can be deemed an elemental. So we're going to talk about the Djinn today. So, as always, I start with a quote where someone mentions it in one of my books, then I give you the background information I have for them, and then I give you the species profile as I use them in the veil. So, I hope you'll find that interesting. So let's get into it. I am a creature known as a Peri, the child of an angel and a fallen angel. My duty is to aid humans into reaching heaven so that someday I may also be permitted to go to heaven. Unfortunately, my kind are all at war with our darker siblings, the Djinn, who work to try and prevent humans the chance to go to heaven, and who work to try and prevent humans the chance to go to heaven at all and corrupt the people we try to help. Quote from Fragrance of Paradise. Let's begin with a classic Djinn story. A fisherman hooks up a curious object in his net one day. It is a curious-looking lamp, and certainly catches his eye. As he rubs the muck and dirt from it, a strange smoke emerges from the lamp, and soon the form of a terrifying, fiery Djinn appears. The fisherman is frightened as the being bellows, thanking him for releasing him from the trap, and insisting that for doing so he will be the first to die. But the fisherman had heard stories of the Djinn pride, and knew that one could defeat them if they knew how. The fisherman praises the Djinn's strength, but then curiously asks the question, how did the Djinn get trapped in there in the first place? Without a moment's thought, the Djinn cackles and insists he'll show him, and promptly gets trapped back into the lamp. The fisherman then rows to deeper water and drops the lamp overboard, hoping no one will be foolish enough to release this being again. I know many of you hear Djinn, or Genie, and assume Williams and a classic story that's about benevolent beings that grant wishes at will, but Djinn are more complicated. In some understanding, the Djinn is the sibling of the Peri and its alternative in life. The Peri is light and aims to aid and is fed by the earth, but the Djinn is a being of fire that does not like humanity or order and prefers chaos. In Islam, the Djinn is generally noted as being made of smoke and fire, not made by demons or angels, but actually by the Almighty themselves. In Islam, they can be benevolent, malevolent, or generally their mood is dependent on how they're treated and unpredictable, like fire itself. The Djinn's link to fire and smoke means it is often classed as a type of elemental being, but most tend to think of them as wish-granting, thanks to the story of Aladdin for 1001 Nights, which, depending on your version, has a Djinn that is an obedient servant with one that lives in a lamp and one that lives in a ring. It's varied, and in some places the Djinn is deemed a spiritual entity that can bring misfortune and can be seen only as malevolent. The amazing YouTube series Bedtime Stories released a video detailing alleged encounters or experiences linked to the Djinn that points out their metamorphosis and smoky form, as well as the desire to harm humans, and I've linked the video in the sources for you because it's an interesting one, and certainly like the scary manner in which one of them walks towards it I've used for one in one of my stories. But anyway, now to be more precise, there are two kinds of Djinn in folklore, and these are those that believe in and accept the Almighty's guidance, known as the Mumina. Cannot pronounce that word, sorry. And those that do not, the Kuffar. I think I'm saying that right, Kuffar? I think it's Kuffar. Sorry, let me know if I'm saying it wrong. I don't mind being told off. I have real trouble trying to pronounce certain things because of anxiety, so just tell me. Anyway, depending on their alignment, depends on their feelings towards mankind. The Djinn is also rather curious as one of the few spiritual beings that is actually at risk of divine judgment and stands on a similar playing field to man. Thus, they are not inherently good or bad, but vary just like humanity. They often do not harm a human unless they have been summoned, insulted, or harmed themselves. But considering they can shapeshift very easily and like being animals like scorpions, upsetting a Djinn is not impossible. When a Djinn has targeted a human, however, the description varies from some suggesting they take on a shadowy appearance, and even when appearing like another human, their image will distort and twist and certainly does not appear right. Some describe them as having bright green or bright red eyes, and some of them winged. These winged individuals were beings of worship in pre-Islamic traditions, and thus the worship and even the summoning of or requesting the protection of these is prohibited in Islam. In Persian mythology, they are thought to be linked to the wicked female spirit Urjani, where they are spiritual beings invisible to man until they are disturbed. They are also not always bound to fire, and some are bound to air instead, and some other elements. There are curious stories of benevolent Djinn having children with humans, as well as some malevolent that purposefully lead men astray, and some that act as a bogeyman. They are often seen as separate from demons, though, and this is what's so fascinating about them. Yes, they're thought to have many powers because they are spiritual, and yet they will face either heaven or hell, which sounds almost like they could die, and they are very different. It should also be noted that charms and talismans to ward off the evil eye are thought to ward off unpleasant Djinn as well. My discussion is probably a little basic, but I would insist upon reading up about them past the story of Aladdin because they are very interesting. In fact, I think there was a curious film that came out not that long ago that was almost a romance between a woman and a Jinn, but I couldn't tell you if there was or if that was one of the things in my head. But this is my profile for the Jinn. In the note, I use the idea of the Peri and Jinn being siblings born from fallen angels that I found mentioned in some forums and in some books during my interest in looking into Peri before COVID whilst I was working on Fragrance of Paradise, which is currently only on Patreon. But you only have to subscribe for $1 to be able to read it all there. And I'm hoping to self-publish on Kindle soon enough when I get around to editing it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. So their profile side, light or dark, created by angels in heaven that would later fall, and thus would later be the Watchers daring to breed in heaven. Created when the angels were thrown from heaven, and as they fell, they birthed and their sons became smoke and were imbued with a desire to either worship the divine or turn against them. Physical description: they can appear as anything, human or animal, but their form is mostly of smoke, although sometimes of air. They can appear black from soot, and their eyes can be red or green but shine brightly. Abilities: they can change into any shape and are practically smoke and can grant wishes if they believe the person is worthy. Most known for granting wishes as a favour to those who have aided them. Weaknesses: they can be defeated by charms to ward off the evil eye, as well as demonic and angelic weapons and magic. Number unclear, there's thought to be as many as there are Peri. Well-known beings: I haven't named any particularly. Business stories: Bastani, a vision in the employ of a demon in Fragrance of Paradise. Final comments: I'm probably lacking, I know, but the first story should intrigue you the same way I love it myself about the fisherman. And well, it's actually quite typical of Djinn stories if you go looking for them. So look into it more. It's better you look into it more than just come off of one movie from your childhood. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. Bye.